Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cliff Ford, and it is a brand new year. We are officially in the year 2024, and I'm ready to kick off a new One Piece video. I decided to do another bounty. Video like that to sort of guess what the bounties of the Straw Pirates are going to be as soon as they leave Egghead and stuff like that. However, before we officially get off the videos, before we actually officially kick off the video and get it started, there are some things I want to go over first. Okay. First of all, I got me a One Piece poster. Yes, I finally got a One Piece poster. There were actually 3 posters in total that I could choose from. One was based on the live action series that's going on Netflix. Great, awesome show, by the way, and like that. I really love the live action adaptation of it. It's very unique to have its own story, but also have like great inspiration to sort of like inspire where it originally came from. But it's amazing. The second one was more based on the actual manga anime adaptation by Oda itself. It featured the Straw Crew on the Sunny. The only straw that wasn't on there was Jinbei. Okay, and technically speaking, I decided to go with this one. I was originally going to go with the previous one, the one I just mentioned, but I decided to go with this one because of a couple of good reasons. I mean, technically speaking, Jinbei wasn't on any of the posters, so Jinbei's not really the main reason. The reason why I decided to go with this one, even though it's like focused in Wano, and we're already out of Wano, right now we're currently in Egghead, this actually had a lot more characters on it. It also included some fan favorite characters like Law, who is one of the top 10 popular characters. I believe he ranked like 5th or 6th place. And not to mention, you have Carrot on here as well. Carrot has been one of my favorite female contenders to join the Strike Crew and become a member and sort of become the lookout. A little disappointing that she's the new ruler of Zoe, but hey, I have no doubt in my mind that I think Carrot can do a great job. And I do want to make another video on Carrot soon enough, so I figured having a poster with her on it is there as well. The only problem is that it also has Chondro on here, and Chondro is a total dick, or he's a complete psycho. And I'm glad he's gone on for good. Yeah, so not to get into full details and like that to spoil any heavy things, but yeah, so it does feature a lot of other characters on there as well, but the only character I would wish to erase from here without damaging the poster would be Chondro, but hey, and another reason why I chose this one compared to the previous one is that Nami and Robin are more front and center, where they have better view. In the previous one, Sanji was kind of blocking Nami most of the way, where you only got to see like the top of her head, and I wanted Nami and Robin specifically to have have much more of a better focus. Right, I wanted people to be able to see them a little bit more easier compared to the other crew members and stuff like that. So Chopper, he's fine because he's really small and stuff like that, so he gets past. And Luffy, him being the main protagonist of the series, sure, he should be up front and center, but he's more like in the middle and stuff like that, and he's not sort of blocking Nami and Robin and stuff like that. So yeah, I decided to go with this one compared to the other ones, but yeah. But the overall basic of it is I finally got a One Piece poster, okay? And I still have my my little Luffy action figure inside Anime Heroes Mighty Luffy. But overall, let's get on to the video, okay? Okay. So before I actually start going over my predictions on their bounties and stuff like that, and what their bounties to be after Egghead. So basically, the after Egghead bounty is, I need to go over a few things first, okay? Number one, I'm going to go over their current bounties right now, or basically the before Egghead bounties, right? Or like I said, the current bounties right now, right? I'm going to go over those, and before I officially start off the bounties, I'm also going to go over some things that are happening in Egghead that we can basically contribute I can't even get the right word out like that, but basically, add into it, right? Like the things that we can look into that's happening in Egghead that we can look to as an example of like why their bounties could get raised. All right. Now, keep in mind that my ideas and predictions on the bounties isn't necessarily it shouldn't be taken at full face value. All right. Like Oda's the one telling the story, not me. This is just merely me giving my own predictions and theories. My predictions and theories could be totally wrong. They could be totally right. It's really just up to chance to wait to see if it actually comes to fruition and things like that. And I made a previous bounty prediction video on after Egghead. I've even mentioned before in the previous video that with the Strides facing up with the world government on world government islands like that, and especially if you've been reading along with the mangas like that, you would know that they're currently up against one of the Gorosei, Saturn himself. So, truth be told, if they do get out of it, there's like no reason to necessarily not believe that they're going to get a bounty increase, okay? So, here are the Strides bounties. First off is Monkey D. Luffy, Ronoro Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brooke, and Jinbei. All right. All right, so that's all the current Straw Hat Pirates bounties and stuff. I decided to use their colors as the main focus for things. Jinbei is the only character I cannot find an accurate color on my phone to basically match it. His main color that's being used is ochre, which is kind of like a deep orange. But I don't really have a deep orange. Like I could probably get one like that, but going off what I initially had available for me at the start, or what I actually had available in terms of colors, that's all I really had. So I kind of went with this one because I felt like it was probably the closest. But overall, let's actually get into the actual context of the video like that. So the actual video itself is basically predicting bounties, how they're hidden, what bounties could actually be. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me inside that. If you have your own bounty predictions and your own suggestions on what their bounties could be, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Let's begin. Okay. All right. So here are some things that we can go over on why we should assume that their bounties are going to get raised. All right, and I can't show like a lot of evidence like that because I don't want to get some kind of a strike or anything, or like some. So I want to be very careful about choosing a lot of reference and evidence like that. But I'll try and be very. But if anyone out there is really following the series, then they would know specifically of the events I'm basically talking about. So right now the Straw Hats are in Egghead Island, right? And right now, and the Egghead Island is a government island, it's like that, and right now, in the current storyline right now, they're currently up against one of the Gorosei, Saturn, who basically has a Devil Fruit, which turns them into some sort of Ushi Oni. Now, the whole idea of this Devil Fruit, or even if it is a Devil Fruit, is still a mystery to us, right? We still don't know specifically what it is, okay? Now, rewind the clock back, because back when Oda took a break from Egghead and showed us the events that was going around the world, there was a headline that popped up that said, you know, the events that happened on Egghead had completely shook the world, okay? Now, a lot of people are basically taking this as sort of like a time period to basically say that this is actually going to occur after Egghead, right? And that could be technically true, right? Especially the way it's laid out, okay? Other things we have to look at in comparison here and why their bounties could increase is that right now, Vegapunk, who is the scientist or the former scientist of the world government, is basically working with Luffy in order to help escape from Egghead, okay? Luffy basically made a promise that he would help get Dr. Punk out of the air, and that's basically what he's trying to do, while also trying to help everyone else, right? So obviously their bounties would increase because of that, okay? Other reasons why their bounties could increase is that they also, in the middle of like fighting against the CP0, Rob Lucci has had a fight with Luffy when he first entered and he came in, and now right now in the current storyline he's also facing Zoro, okay? There are some other things and factors to go into on the CP0, but that's actually not the main. That's really nothing to focus on the videos like that. But there are some things on the CP0 things that needs to be kept. Needs to be kept in check, right? And not to mention is that the Straw Hats, well, technically speaking, it was done off camera, but we do know that the Straw Hats managed to obtain and basically sort of take down the Seraphim. Okay, they managed to stop the Seraphim. How they managed to do this is still up in the air. We don't actually know. We might never know. But they managed to take. Well, they didn't officially defeat the Seraphim and like completely destroy them, but they managed to keep them at bay. All right, they managed to sustain them or subdue them. All right, they managed to keep them locked up without them getting under control. Right. So those are some really main factors to look into on why their bounties could actually increase, okay? And like I said, because of everything that's occurring and everything that's probably going to happen, it's not wrong for anyone to assume or suggest that their bounties are going to get increased, okay? Now, how their bounties can increase is really depending, right? Like, many people have made bounty videos before. Some people have made prediction bounties, and then you have, like, bounties, like, you basically have two types of bounty videos, right? You basically have your bounty predictions and theories, which basically predicts what someone's bounty is, and then you have other type of bounty videos, which are basically talking about how the bounties are calculated, or about why they got this kind of bounty instead of this bounty and stuff like that. Those are, like, the two main differences in the videos and stuff like that. Okay. So going over necessarily and stuff like that, I remember back when the Straw Hats were leaving Wano and stuff like that, or even before Wano, everyone was making suggestions on what their bounties could be. I originally assumed that Luffy's bounty would go higher than Kaido's, only because I was basing it off the fact that most of Luffy's previous bounties, that every character that he defeated, his bounty went past their bounty, okay? The only sole exception to that was Doflamingo, okay? Because by the time Luffy went to go face Doflamingo, Luffy's bounty was higher, but that's only because Doflamingo's bounty was actually frozen, because he was still Tsuchibika at that time, or basically he was one of the 7 warlords, okay? And really, because of that, I thought that was nothing really to focus on, but with the whole after Wano ended and stuff like that, and Luffy getting a 3 billion berry bounty, and not going past Kaido, And we also got to keep in mind that bounties do not equal strength. All right, that is something very important to understand, that bounties do not equal strength. But it is left for us to basically understand that we can never actually know for sure how Oda's going to do this, right? Like, he might go over, he might go under, or we don't know. Okay. And that's why we also have to be careful here, is because a lot of people, and even myself, right? Even I gotta be careful on this. At the end of the series, everyone is predicting and basically summarizing that Luffy's bounty at the end of the series will be 5-6 or 5,600,000,000. Okay, and while that is definitely a fan favorite and everyone is going to enjoy, we do got to keep careful in mind here is that there's always a chance that Oda can pull a fastball on us. All right, he can always do a sleight of hand trick and make us think it's one thing when in fact it's a completely different thing. So we always got to keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Now that I got over the reasons of their bounties and stuff like that, and what their why their bounties can increase, let's actually get into what their bounties are after Egghead are going to be. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be doing this in a different order, or I'm not going to be doing this in the order that the strides appeared, nor am I doing it from highest to lowest, nor am I doing it in vice versa, lowest to highest. Okay. All right. So first, starting off with Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of the Straw Pirates. For his bounty, I actually kept his bounty the same as my last one at 3,600,000,000. Okay, now there's actually a pretty good reason why I decided to go with this one. The main focus is that right now the Strides are basically up against Saturn, and Saturn, in terms of like not focusing on the god Saturn or anything like that he's based off, but the planet Saturn itself, right? Saturn, the planet, is actually the sixth planet from the sun. Okay. And obviously enough, Luffy's bounty, 3 billion berry bounty, has a very significant connection to the sun. Right? Not to mention, sun not only can translate into 3, but you can also translate into the word sun. Okay, and the fact that Saturn is the sixth planet from the sun is basically a good connection there. Okay, another connection here is that if you take the 3 and 6 and you translate into some Gorosei connections, you have So for 3 and Ru for 6. Right, now Soru can obviously mean soul. Okay, however, you can also spell it as soul, as an S-O-L. And Sol, if anyone is familiar, is actually a god of the sun. All right, he's basically the personific. I can't even say that word right. Okay, but he's basically like one of the big gods of the sun. All right, and stuff. Who is actually one of the siblings of Luna, the goddess of the moon, along with Aurora, the goddess of the dawn, or the personification of the dawn. Now I can finally say it. But that's really the main reason why I decided to go with that one. Okay. Now I know a lot of people are probably going to be suggesting and saying like, "Hey, he's going up one of the Gorosei, right? His bounty's got to go way higher than that." And like, truth be told, I don't doubt that for a minute, right? Like, yeah, his bounty should definitely go higher. But let's not forget, Luffy punched the Celestial Dragon and back during Sabaody Archipelago, almost like that. And his bounty didn't rise up for a very long time. I mean, well, not like a complete long time, but it was a while for the bounty increased, and it only increased to 100 million. Like, you have to stop and think, is like, who's actually doing these bounties? Who's actually counting them? All right, like I know Attacking 101, he's made lots of videos on the whole bounty talks like that and how they're calculated and who's actually doing it like that. I know he's brought up before in his videos before. So, all right. All right, now let's move on to Zoro and Sanji. So yes, for Zoro and Sanji, their bounties, I actually decided to actually take something from Saturn itself, from the planet Saturn, and I decided to base their bounties numbers on Saturn's Philion and crap, what was the other word? Sorry about that. I almost forgot what the words were. Okay, so for Zoro, I decided to base his bounty on the Philion, and Sanji's is based on the Perihelion. To basically summarize what this is, Philion is basically the farthest from the sun, and the Perihelion is the closest to the sun. Okay, now in terms of like suggestion, wouldn't Zoro should be the closest? Well, basically summarize, the Philion is has a much higher number than the Paraphilion. I'm sorry, I'm sort of butchering these words and stuff like that, but especially since Sanji actually has like fire-based abilities and stuff like that, where he can basically set his leg on fire, and I kind of feel like it would be best to have him represent that. But I chose Zoro and Sanji to have the numbers sort of based on these two equations. Okay, now I looked at many different sites and stuff like that on what the actual numbers and translations of what the Philion and Perihelion actually is, and some of them give some different numbers, but most of them are basically around 1.5 billion and 1.3 to 1.4 billion. Okay, so to summarize, Zoro's bounty, I decided to put at 1,511,000,000. Okay, so it would basically put it close enough to around where the Philion number is. Okay, and for Sanji, I decided to put at 1,357,000,000. So yeah, so 1,357,000,000 for Sanji. Okay. All right. Now, let's move on to, let's actually go with Jinbei next, okay? Now, Jinbei is another character I decided to take something from Saturn, and for Jinbei, I decided to base his off the semi-major axis, okay? Okay, I forgot to write down what the semi-major axis is and stuff like that, but overall, Jinbei's bounty would be 1,432,000,000, okay? So, once again, 1,432,000,000 for Jinbei. All right. Next off, we'll do Robin. And so to summarize the other Straw Hats, in the past videos, or not past videos, but the past bounty increases of all the Strike crews, the lower Strike crews basically got 50 million, got basically half of an increase of what the of what their captain got necessarily. Okay, so after Dressrosa, Luffy got 100 million increase, while his crew members got a 50 increase. Okay, now this is a bit different for Wano because the bounties are not actually half of what Luffy ended with. All right. However, another thing you will look at is the fact that Luffy's bounty increased to 3 billion, and then his crew members, the lower crews, minus Zoro, minus characters like Zoro, Jinbei, Sanji, and Robin, who did not get, and Chopper as well. Chopper as well, right? They're the only ones who did not actually get a 300 million increase, but Nami, Frankie, Brooke, and Usopp all got a 300 million increase, okay? So basically, Luffy's bounty is 3 billion, they got a 300 million increase, okay? So I decided to keep the 300 million increase of the other Straw crew members because Luffy's bounty is increasing to 600, increasing an additional 600 million, so keeping half of that is 300, or it only made sense, okay? Now, some people will probably disagree with that, but that's what I'm going to go with. But for Robin, I decided to actually take her bounty and raise it up a little bit higher. So hers is basically half of what 300 and 600 is. So half of that is 400 and, basically the half marker between that is 450. So basically 300 plus 150 to make 450. An additional 450 to another 150 makes it 600, okay? So Robin's bounty increases an additional 450 million, putting her bounty at 1,380,000,000. Now, some people are probably already seeing something here, or actually probably getting in the comment section and pointing something out here. It's like, well, hold on, that puts Robin's bounty above Sanji, all right? And truth be told, like, I can totally get your guys' point. Like, I can totally understand your point. Like, Robin's bounty should not be higher than Sanji's. However, I think it would also be very kind of a. I'm not saying it's sort of like an insulting thing for Sanji, but it would be interesting if one of the female characters actually went past Sanji. I know Zoro would probably get a laugh of it, but then you have to stop about who Sanji is, and that, for him, he might, like, if Robin gets a bounty higher than him, he would probably more congratulate Robin on the job well done, and then Zoro probably makes fun of him about it, as like, and so forth, and Zoro would probably, and Sanji would probably just tell him, like, shut up, moss head, it doesn't matter if a girl does it only matters if you get past me. But yes, that's something to actually go over on that. Okay. So next is Frankie and Brooke. So I decided to do Frankie and Brooke, and for Frankie and Brooke, I did decide to increase their bounty to 300 additional million. So for Frankie, that would put his bounty at 694 million, and for Brooke, it would put his bounty at 683 million. So yeah. And truth be told, Frankie and Brooke, they still haven't really done anything in in Egghead currently. Frankie, right now, he's also currently tied down somehow up against Saturn, along with Sanji and everyone else, minus Nami, Usopp, and Chopper, and Robin, and Brooke. Wait, was Brooke there? I can't remember if Brooke is actually with up against Saturn as well. I can't remember that. But yeah, so they got 300 million increase. Next up will be Usopp. Now Usopp, I think I was originally going to increase it to an additional 500 million to increase up to like $1 billion, but I don't think it's necessary time for Usopp to go over $1 billion just yet, okay? I could be wrong about that, and truth be told, like, there's no reason to doubt that his bounty would go up to $1 billion after this, okay? But I feel like it's not time yet, okay? For Pistoli's sake, I decided to actually to just add 300 million to it and basically make his bounty 800 million. So Usopp's bounty becomes 800 million. Next up will be Chopper. And for Chopper's bounty, Chopper's current bounty right now is 1,000 berry bounty, but I decided to increase his bounty, the additional, for him I decided to not do 300, decided to do the 300, right, because, 300 on Chopper would be kind of low, okay? So yeah, but for his, I decided to increase it to 3,000. Now, some people probably, no, it's definitely true that Chopper does deserve a much higher bounty than that, but in terms of like how the One Piece story goes and like the world government itself, we gotta basically summarize and think of like how they would actually get the bounties compared to everyone else, okay? Compared to how we would do it. So, and for Chopper, I could probably see him getting like a 3,000 berry increase, all right? And that's actually higher than what he got in Wano. In Wano, it only increased an additional 900 from where his bounty was, but at least with this one, he's getting additional 2,000 added on. But still, it's pretty low for Chopper, okay? All right. So we only have one more bounty left. So yeah, so the last bounty we're going to be talking about is the Navigator of the Straw Pirates. It's Nami, who is the adopted daughter of Bellamy here, the adopted sister of Nojiko. Who is currently helping Luffy sail the entire One Piece world, finding the One Piece. Okay, so yes, let's talk about Nami's bounty. Come back, come back, come back. You must come back. Listen to me. Come back, come back.